Hello and welcome. My name is Cecile Charlton and I'm the Executive Director of the Delaware County TMA. We're excited today to host the Pennsylvania Secretary of Transportation, Yassmin Gramian. But first, let's do some housekeeping. As you can imagine, you are all on mute and you are off camera. We will be taking questions at the end of the Secretary's presentation, but feel free to put them in the question and answer box during the presentation. I will be reading them at the end. All right, let's get started. First, it is my pleasure to introduce State Senator Tim Carney. He is on the Pennsylvania Senate's Transportation Committee, and he will be introducing the Secretary. Senator?
Thank you, Cecile. Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Tim Carney. I represent parts of Delaware and Chester counties, the 26th Senate District in the State Senate. I'm really grateful to be with all of you today for this discussion. Transportation issues are near and dear to my heart. But first, I want to take a moment to recognize Cecile Charlton. This will be Cecile's last meeting as Executive Director of the Delaware County TMA after 20 years on the job. Over these last 2 decades, she has been a true leader on transportation issues impacting Delaware County, and our community is better off for her service. Cecile will continue to serve her neighbors in a number of organizations, but I want to thank her for her commitment to the DC TMA and congratulate her on a well-earned retirement.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate that.
You're quite welcome, Cecile. But it's now my pleasure to introduce Pennsylvania Secretary of Transportation, the Honorable Yassmin Gramian. Secretary Gramian became acting Secretary of Penndot last December, and we unanimously confirmed her in May. Taking leadership of a major department would be tough under normal circumstances, but Secretary Gramian has done so amid a global pandemic. This required quick and decisive action, and the Secretary has met that challenge by swiftly implementing operational changes and safety protocols to best protect Pennsylvanians. Secretary Gramian has more than 30 years of experience as an engineer. She's overseen many major transportation and infrastructure projects, including terminal modernization at the Philadelphia Airport, a good portion of which is located in Penndot Township here in Delaware County. Prior to joining Penndot, she served as a senior vice president at 2 international engineering firms. You know, and I'm an architect by trade, so it's safe to say Secretary Gramian and I share a love for building things. I'm really excited to have the Secretary with us today to discuss how Penndot is improving lives and connecting people even with the ravages of COVID-19. So, Madam Secretary, over to you.
Thank you so much, Senator, for that kind introduction. And I also would like to wish Cecile best of luck and best of life in her retirement. I'm sure she's going to keep busy, and please stay in touch, Cecile, because we wanted to keep you informed about what's happening in Pennsylvania, especially on the transportation side. And I also have to say, Senator, thank you so much for your support throughout this whole period, COVID-19, prior to COVID-19, when I was in the acting position. Your wisdom, your insight to transportation was extremely helpful to where I am today, and I really appreciate that. So good afternoon, everyone. It's truly my pleasure to speak with you today. Like so many agencies and organizations, Penndot has taken unprecedented measures and precautions in response to COVID-19. We closed the buildings and offices across the state and successfully transferred essential functions, including traffic management and executive leadership, to remote operations. We were one of the very few, if not the only agency, that put all emergency construction projects on hold. And we did that to minimize exposure for Penndot and private sector employees and for the communities where they live and they work. It was totally unknown to us. We didn't know how to deal with this enemy, COVID-19. So we erred on the safe side, and we closed the offices. Every decision we made was made in the interest of keeping our staff, industry partners, and customers safe. However, these necessary measures drastically changed how we do business, and our stakeholders and customers have had to adjust how they interacted with us. It wasn't easy, it was difficult, it was challenging for us, it was challenging for them. But we've seen some remarkable innovations in many ways that we do business. And a lot of it came by partnership with the folks in the industry. Let me start by talking about how we dealt with the construction projects. While putting construction projects on hold in the early days of pandemic was the safest choice, we also understood the importance of these projects to the local community and to our industry partners. We were very concerned about this pause of construction on the schedule of the construction and the costs that we were ramping up for the projects. So what we did, we immediately, within 2 days, assembled a team which comprised of our industry partners, the consulting engineering community, as well as Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, Federal Highway Administration, APCR contractors, partners, and we tasked them with developing a very comprehensive plan on how construction activities could safely resume. The plan included guidelines, and they did actually develop the plan very quickly in a matter of a couple weeks. And the plan also included guidelines for COVID-19 safety protocols and requires that each project that was resumed back into construction have a specific COVID-19 safety plan. So all construction projects have since restarted, and we're doing $900 million more on construction since then. And all these plans are in place. The communication and collaboration that we have had with our partners in the industry has been invaluable this time. And I believe that the relationship we built and the camaraderie between the private side and the public side, even within the public side, different districts, has been unprecedented. And we really value that relationship. One of the most critical part of our operation, obviously, is the traffic management centers throughout the state. The statewide traffic management center and the 4 regional 24/7 operations centers, as well as the 2 peak hour facilities that we have, all transition to remote operations. Who would have thought, right? As you know, the first area impacted by the virus was here in Southeast Pennsylvania, where the highest traffic volume exists. We quickly migrated these operations to other traffic management centers initially within the Commonwealth. This successful shift of service enabled us to develop a broader approach, and now all the functions of the traffic management centers are being done remotely, and it allows us to mitigate exposure risk to our TMC staff. I'd like to talk about the drivers and vehicle service centers. As you know, our drivers and vehicle services are some of the agency's most public touch points. After we initially closed our driver's license centers, we extended expiration dates on vehicle safety and emission inspections, permanent parking placards, vehicle registrations and other driver's licenses, photo ID cards, and learner's permits. Most of the extensions have expired, except for driver's licenses and photo ID cards and learner's permit. Those expire on August 31st, this coming Monday. And we're trying to extend those as well, just to put your mind at ease. Our driver and vehicle services team immediately focused on how we could continue to serve our customers while keeping them and our staff safe. So we resumed the CDL testing and transactions in certain locations in April so that we could help support the trucking industry. We began reopening driver's license center in May as counties moved from the red to yellow phases. In order to reduce the number of customers who had to physically visit a driver's license center, we implemented system changes in early May that would allow customers renew their driver's licenses or ID cards to use their existing photos on file rather than coming into a photo center or to take a new photo. Customers can now renew online or through the mail, and they will receive their new licenses with their old photo in the mail within 15 days. Over 600,000 customers have gone through this process. That's 600,000 people who didn't have to visit in person. In June, we resumed non-commercial drivers' skill testing. We redesigned the non-commercial testing so that the examiners could evaluate a tester's skill without getting inside the vehicle. We've tested over 52,000 people since testing resumed. For driver's licenses and photo license services, we've actually served over 900,000 customers since May. And we had to extend our hours. We provided Monday services. We were open 6 days a week. We added more staff to accommodate the demand and the backlog that we had. We also developed a new online motorcycle training course for those under 18 who are required by law to complete a department-approved motorcycle safety course before they can take the skill test and obtain their motorcycle licenses. And while we're not currently issuing real IDs to help limit the number of customers and address the backlogs that we have, we're actually pre-verifying online. Since May, we have pre-verified 52,000 customers who wanted to take advantage of this service. So we plan to resume issuing real ID in late September. We're also exploring the concept of remote testing for learners' permits to mitigate customers' visits to our driver's licenses centers. We continue to evaluate customers' transactions and what transactions can be added to our online services. We're also looking into apps for having your driver's license on your phone, your cell phone, so you don't have to carry it all the time. Of course, there is a lot of security issues that we are looking into, and we wanted to make sure if we make that available, that it's a secure option for our customers. So while we are certainly living in a very uncertain times, I'm very proud of how we as a department, as an agency, have acted so quickly to help protect Pennsylvanians and to also accommodate the needs and the services that they require. Let me talk about one of our biggest challenges today, which is our revenue. COVID-19 has had a major impact on our revenues. Because overall travel has been down, although it's been picking up lately, less fuel is being purchased, which is having an impact on our motor license fund revenues. Without a federal stimulus, projected transportation revenue impact in the short term because of COVID-19 will mean at least $800 million less in our construction and maintenance programs, and an over $100 million less available for multimodal initiatives. Also, the reduced motor license fund revenue will also mean approximately $50 million less liquid fuel distribution to our municipalities. In previous years, Penndot's annual lettings range from 2.2 to 2.4 billion. With the projected reductions in revenue, we're anticipating the program being between 1.8 to 1.9 billion for this calendar year, 2020. Without federal stimulus funds or additional funds from federal government, we will also see impacts in the same range to our calendar year 2021 lettings. At this time, we have not cut any projects from the program. We have not delayed any design work, but we have had to delay the delivery to match the funding on some of the construction projects, again, to match the funding that we have available. We can bring these projects back into the program if funding projections improve or additional funding from feds or within the state becomes available. In maintenance, reduced revenues mean we need to focus on lower cost preservation activities in our pavement and bridge mission. For example, resurfacing projects will reduce, so expanded low-cost maintenance work, such as patching, crack sealing, skin patching, seal coating activities will be needed to preserve the system. Obviously, this is not the way we wanted to deal with our maintenance, but it's due to lack of choice and adjusting our budget. Bridge replacement efforts will shift to lower cost preservation activities. We are already seeing these impacts in our 2020 program. Because of the reduced project schedule, Penndot reduced budget and project schedule, Penndot withdrew the advertisement for 19 maintenance, resurfacing, and pavement preservation projects to a total of $63 million. Fortunately, we've been reviewing the project scopes and adjusting funding sources so we could allow some of these projects to come back and get done later on in 2020. I'd like to talk about the additional impact of revenue on our planning and programming. And you've heard this story many times before. So considering the lack of federal actions, we were forced to direct additional dollars to our interstate system. And that impacts the ability to deliver projects on the other networks. Our annualized needs to construct and maintain the state-owned roadways and bridges network is about $7.6 billion per year. We need $7.6 billion to really address the needs of the state. The highways, the bridges, the interstate, the non-interstate system, everything. And this is to, this doesn't cover the maintenance activities or even the systems upgrades and improvements on the technology and capacity enhancement. Growth in travel, traffic, freight and economic activity combined with lower liquid fuel tax revenues, lack of federal investment, and loss of buying power has outpaced the ability to keep pace with the needs of the interstate system. Put simply, we have investment needs that far exceed our current funding. It is critical that we look at other revenue solutions to support our system. We understand the impact of a reliable transportation network on quality of life, and we take our responsibility as stewards of safety and mobility in Pennsylvania very seriously, which is why we must explore other options. These options could help Pennsylvania with critical transportation revenue while helping to achieve multiple goals like congestion reduction and improved travel reliability. I'd like to talk about an area which is critical to me and this administration, and that's diversity and inclusion. Former Secretary Leslie Richards started an important conversation around diversity and inclusion, both in the contracting industry as well as within the department, and I'm committed to continuing this important work. We need to nurture a diverse organization and workforce through innovative thinking, job-specific training, and fostering an inclusive environment that encourages, supports, and celebrates our similarities and differences. It's so important that we have people with various backgrounds at the table to help tackle our most pressing transportation challenges. Penndot developed the first ever diversity outreach forums to contractors and consultants to increase participation of women and minority-owned firms in its highway contracts. We've conducted vendor outreach sessions in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Harrisburg with an emphasis on increasing diverse business and small business participation. We provide contract management and assist with outreach and partnering with organizations to help encourage and connect women, minorities, and underserved populations with highway and bridge construction projects, and we've been very successful with that. We need to continue driving home that diverse perspectives are valued and are of critical importance, and we hope that more women and minorities will consider joining the public service and transportation fields. We're putting innovation, local resources, and strong partnerships to work so we can have the most sustainable, inclusive transportation assets possible. Finally, I'd like to talk about innovation and technology transformation. As you know, Pennsylvania is leading the path in many areas when it comes to transformation technology. Our connected and automated vehicles, unconnected and automated vehicles, we have 2 advisory groups with their roles being to provide guidance on defining policies and roadmap to advance the CAV technology. To date, Penndot has developed testing guidance, a strategic plan, vehicle platooning policy, and additional research studies on the subject of platooning. I also like to address the work we've done on EV, electrical vehicles, since we have been asked by public many times on Penndot's role in this arena. Penndot co-leads with Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, on policies and creating the roadmap for EV. We have positioned 10 interstate highways in Pennsylvania as designated corridors for EV, and we have over 320 charging stations in Pennsylvania. We received 2 of 5 FHWA grants for fuel corridor deployment plant. The grants are being used to create 2 plans to increase density of fueling sites along specific corridors, specifically I-81 and I-78 from Maryland to New Jersey. Additionally, we're part of a multi-state team developing a plan along I-80 corridor from Iowa to New Jersey. And finally, on climate change. As an agency, we are deeply aware of our assets' vulnerability in extreme weather. Extreme flooding causes exuberant costs, economic losses, and safety concerns. If you remember, last week, 676 was closed for several days, just to one storm, and that was a difficult situation for District 6. But we were able to manage and handle the situation very safely. We were lucky with that one. Back in 2017, Penndot published an extreme weather vulnerability study that identified areas of flooding concerns. In 2018, we saw those concerns brought to reality. In that year alone, our agency spent over $150 million in emergency repairs due to flooding and extreme weather events. We know that flooding events will become increasingly common due to climate change unless we change our course, and we are working on that. Finally, I'm proud of the standards that we hold ourselves to and the ways that Penndot works to positively influence the larger communities. We truly appreciate the open dialogue and partnership with the private sector as we navigate these challenging times. Thanks again for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I'm going to turn it back to Cecile. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary. We only have 2 questions in the queue, so if anybody would like to add some. The first one talks about scheduled construction projects. I believe that you've already answered that, unless there's anything you'd like to add.
Well, obviously, you know, the projects were paused for several weeks, and that definitely had an impact and concerns to us and the contractors. What we managed to do, working again with our partners, we invited them to come with some ideas and some innovative solutions to recover that period that they lost due to shutdowns. So many of them came in through with some suggestion ideas on changing the traffic control plan, maybe come up with ways to expediting the construction schedule, and we managed to deal with that in a successful fashion. Our department is still in conversations with the contractors on how this whole closure impacted the contractors financially. So this is still in discussions with the contractors and Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Okay, thank you. This one is a comment. I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Penndot processed my son's photo card within 4 days from the date he passed his driver's license. I'm very happy. I'm sure that's something you don't hear a lot of, right?
And I'm very happy too. And I thank you so much for making that comment, because it really means a lot to our employees when we hear from our customers that they were happy with the work that we did for them. Thank you.
Okay, let me see here. Are there plans to have an electric car fuel tax?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Are there plans to have an electric car fuel tax?
Test?
Tax, I'm sorry, tax. Tax on the electric car fuel.
Tax.
Right.
Well, I can't answer that question. Maybe that's a question for Senator Carney, since he's on the call. We're trying to figure out, obviously there's all kinds of discussions going on with the electrical vehicles. And there's, right now, the public is very concerned about the rebate program that we have, which is up to $750 million, $750, and for low-income family, up to $1,000. And so the rebate is a big part, is a big concern of the public. The tax part, Senator, do you have any idea where we are with that?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we're encouraging people to use electric cars, but we also understand that the majority of our taxes come from fuel taxes that actually take care of our roads and highways and bridges. So there are a number of discussions around various ways to try to create some level of fairness where, we can, number one, provide the infrastructure for these electric cars to actually use our turnpike and our systems. We need to add more charging stations in our turnpike rest stops, for example. I think there's only 3 at this point, aren't there? Some of these things there's a program around that actually monitors how much you actually use your car, and then there's a theoretical discussion around how actual use on the roads might translate into some sort of fee or some sort of tax to try to make up that difference. So it's a big question, and it's been exasperated by the current financial position that the Commonwealth is in. We're already looking at an over $3 billion loss in revenue just in this, in the last 4 or 5 months in terms of the tax income that's usually coming into the Commonwealth, which we're not seeing. So it's a work in progress. Let me put it that way. Cecile, I can't hear you. So while we're waiting for Cecile to get back on, Secretary, I actually have a question for you.
Yes.
And this is it's sort of a personal one. My mother-in-law, who we helped move up into this area from Virginia, because she has Parkinson's disease. So she's in a retirement community over here in Wallingford. Her doctor had prescribed medical marijuana for her, but she's unable to get it because she does not have a Pennsylvania ID, and she's under lockdown. She can't leave the facility that she's in. There's kind of no way for her to, even getting her to a Penndot center would be very difficult, would involve a special van and everything else for the wheelchair, et cetera. So is there any way with the I know the adjustments you guys have been making, I don't mean to throw a zinger out of left field at you, but it's
No, that's quite all right, Senator. This kind of situations are very important to us. And yes, there is, and we can actually help your mother-in-law issuing her ID online. So, and honestly, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling other people, when they ask me a question, there is so many of these one-offs. I mean, people, I get emails from in my personal email to my personal email address about their special situations. There is a lot of special situations out there, you know, especially under this COVID-19. You know, people are bringing their folks, their parents, their in-laws, their brothers, sisters, you know, family members back into their houses, and they wanted to be in a safe environment. And they reach out to me and they're asking for help one way or the other, whether it's for their ID or other stuff. They can't travel to get their licenses. We will address all of them, but also in the case of your mother-in-law, we can handle them online. So if you send the information to me or someone at Penndot, we can actually send information to you on how to approach, you know, our folks to help you out.
And that's not just because I'm a senator. That's you would do.
No, no, we've done this for many of our citizens. It doesn't matter. Yes.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay. I have no idea what happened. So I was asking the question, District 6 continues to grapple with pedestrian safety. Are there any initiatives in the works to address this?
Pedestrian safety, it's a big concern of ours, and it depends on, you know, what specific situation we are referring to. There are definitely some corridors within District 6 where it's really unsafe. There are busy corridors like Roosevelt Boulevard or some other corridor similar to Roosevelt Boulevard that we've been actually experiencing some major safety issues. And, you know, there've been some studies and some traffic calming measures that's being put in place. There are, you know, anything from just different kind of a pavement marking to maybe changes in the traffic signals and you know, some other measures that are being put in place to address that. There are also some traffic safety concerns at the trail locations where people are biking or walking, and it's a trail crossing and it's an at grade. So we're very concerned about those areas, and we're trying to make improvements by putting signs up there, flashlights up there, you know, revisiting the timing of the traffic signals. There's a lot of stuff that we need to look into when it comes to pedestrian safety. Yes.
Thank you. Route 322. How can the Township and Penndot help the businesses along the business route Section 2 and CSX with the updates and timelines?
I am not sure exactly what the question is. Is this Route 322 that's currently under construction in Delaware County?
Yes, that's what she's talking about. I guess her concern is the updates for the businesses. And I'm just going to put a plug in for the TMA that we do send out information on the construction that the municipality is welcome to send to the businesses along the route, if that helps to answer that question at all.
But Cecile, we also have so many communications going on at the district level. They give updates all the time on any construction activities, on closures, on utility relocations, on anything related to traffic signals. So, and we also post it on our website all the time. So, you know, I'm sorry to hear that, you know, there's still not enough channels of communication to get the information out to the business. But I mean, I'm personally on District 6 information, news media, and I get all the information when it's sent out to the public as well as to media, social media, and so forth. So, I mean, if you wanted to be on a mailing list, we will be glad to add you to a mailing list, or if there's any additional information they need, we'll be glad to provide it to them.
Thank you. Is there any way licenses due for renewal in April could be done online?
Yes, you got to contact Driver Vehicle Services and they will help you. They will instruct you on what you need to do. Absolutely.
Excuse me. Great. So this person says, I may have missed it, but is there a timeline for adding your PA license to your mobile phone?
We're still trying to figure it out. We don't have it yet. We're looking into different applications that's being talked about. We obviously, safety is the number one thing, and we wanted to make sure if we go that route that none of the personal information are being compromised. We're not there yet, but I'm sure if once we get there, it's going to be all over the news.
Yes, yes. Are there any plans that would develop and or grow new revenue sources in the department?
We're actually studying right now, and I hope this study turns into a real plan, and the real plan turns into an implementation plan. Like any other DOT throughout the United States, they're all faced with the similar challenges as we are. Lack of, reduction in funding or revenue, lack of additional funds from federal government or anything similar to the CARES package they were talking about. HEROES Act, which was some stimulus money coming to the states for highways and bridges, and it didn't happen. FAST Act is expiring end of September of this year. Insolvency of the Transportation Trust Fund is a major concern of us, and how the feds are going to keep up with the money that they provided to the states is another major concern of ours, us being all the DOTs throughout the United States. Therefore, we are being encouraged by our federal partners to look into, are there other ways as a state to create some other sources of revenue, funding. If you're using it, you might as well pay for it, kind of like utilities and so forth. There is no, magic solution to new sources of funding. Basically, some of the options that the states are looking into is tolling is one of them. Additional fees is another one. Some of the states are actually increasing the gas tax. We really have to explore some of the options, and I know Pennsylvania, nobody's interested in paying more on their gas tax at the gas stations, although the prices of gas has been going down, but really it's not a sustainable source of revenue. What we call sustainable is if you're using it, you should be paying for it. And anyways, there are a lot of discussions going on, and we'll see, as I mentioned, some of the studies will hopefully turn into a plan, and the plan will be discussed with Senator and his colleagues and the public and the communities, and hopefully something new will be introduced, because what we currently have going for Department of Transportation for revenue is not sustainable.
Thank you. And last question, would Penndot consider outsourcing driver and vehicle services to state or county representatives' offices until the backlog is diminished?
I think we're at a great place with our backlog, and we do outsource a lot of our services to private industry. And some folks have been taking advantage of that, and some folks are not interested to work with the private folks' businesses because it costs them more money, right? But we did a tremendous job recovering from the backlog. And one of the reasons we pushed out issuing the real ID was because we wanted to put all our resources to recover from the backlog. We are at a point, end of summer, we're probably going to start reissuing real ID because we feel comfortable we can do that now. And as you know, the federal government extended the real ID deadline to November of 2021. So not necessarily to the counties, there are some private businesses taking care of some of our services if the public is interested, but I think we're at a good place with our backlog.
Thank you. And just one comment from the Senator's office, that they do receive a lot of requests about when Pennsylvania will have more online services through the DMV, updating addresses, voter registration, rather than having to print off and mail in forms.
You mean updating their information online?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can get back to you. I thought we could do all that, but I'll get back to you.
I'm sorry. I think what she's saying is that the senator's office does get a lot of requests from that. Yes, that's taking advantage of a lot. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to ask Senator Carney if you have any more, if you have a comment, closing remarks, or anything that you would like to say.
Well, I think this has been very informative. It's always difficult when we put the secretary on the spot, and I think she did a great job answering these things. I think it's fitting for you, Cecile, to go out on such a productive and successful webinar. But I'm sure we will. I don't think we've seen the last of you, so I'm sure we look forward to.
Thank you. And as
thank you.
Would you have anything else to say, Secretary?
Again, I want to thank everyone on the private side, the industry, our partners, for helping us out throughout this process of COVID-19. We are at a very good place right now in terms of how we wanted to manage our operations. We put a lot of great measures in place. Going electronic on providing services, and I didn't even get into the highway administration and the kind of stuff that we are doing to expedite the process to actually become touchless digital agency, 100%. And we're really proud of what we've accomplished. And again, a lot of it is because we have strong partnership with the private industry, the consultants, the contractors, and we wanted to strengthen this relationship as much as possible. And we really wanted to maximize every dollar we get from the public taxpayers to just create a better community for everyone, a safe and reliable transportation system for everyone. And I appreciate the opportunity to talking to everybody today. And I'm here to help out. If you have any questions, if there were some questions we didn't answer, please send it to the communications team and we'll get back to you. And Senator Carney, thank you so much for all your support. Cecile, good luck to you on your retirement, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And of course, you all know, even these webinars that were not in person, they wouldn't be possible without the financial support that we receive from our members. So I would particularly like to thank Traffic Planning and Design for sponsoring today's webinar. It is extremely important for the TMA going forward that we have this partnership with our different members. So Eric Osimchuk from Traffic Planning and Design, thank you very much for your support. I'd also like to thank the Secretary and the Senator for being with us today. And I'd like to thank you participants for coming on. But of course, I want to particularly thank the staff of the Delaware County TMA for their hard work and their behind the scenes work on all of this, all the webinars actually take. We have recorded this and it will be available on our website. Again, thank you all very much. And yes, I will be seeing you soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.